Council members Anthony Alva for the 3rd District. And at this time, I will call a roll for those members of the committee first. Vincent White, Vice Chair.
Present.
Councilwoman Latrice Bracy.
Present.
Councilmember Nathan Field.
Present.
Councilmember Brigida Fields.
Present.
Councilmember James Spadola.
Present.
Council President Trippy Congo.
Here.
Is there any other members that are on the call that I'm not able to see your hands? Okay. As a friendly reminder, only members of the committee should be making motions in second. With that being said, do we have Deputy Commissioner Richard Montanez online from Philadelphia, Deputy Commissioner? Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Fine. I'm Councilwoman Oliver, and you have 7 other council members, or 6 other council members on Zoom call. We have another, and a vice chair sitting here. It's a pleasure to have you on, coming from Department of Streets in the city of Philadelphia. So without further ado, this ordinance is Ordinance 23-029, ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the City Code to create procedures whereby residents may petition the Department of Public Works to conduct traffic studies, install some traffic calming devices. And the reason why Kendra reached out to you, our assistant, is because I come to Philly a lot, and I noticed y'all have the cushion speed bumps and some other devices. So I just wanted some of my colleagues to hear, because we're interested in here. I'm interested in, and some of my other colleagues, for some speed bumps. But I know in certain places they're not allowed because of the fire trucks. But I see in 2015 y'all did a big study, and now y'all have installed way more than over 200 or 300 cushion speed bumps. So could you elaborate on how it has affected the calmness of your speeding in Philly, or give me some general information about the cushion speed bumps, please?
Sure. So I guess good afternoon, Chairman Oliver, members of the Public Works and Transportation Committee. My name is Richard Montanez. I am the Deputy Commissioner for Transportation for the Department of Streets in the City of Philadelphia. Again, thank you for inviting me to discuss the opportunity. The Streets Department's goal is to reach it's the same as our Vision Zero goal, which is 0 fatalities on the streets of Philadelphia by slowing down vehicles around all the neighborhoods to protect the safety of our residents and visitors. The Streets Department began this effort about 10 years ago by installing speed tables. We continue to grow our efforts by following NACTO, which is the North American City Transportation Organization, guidance, and working with PennDOT, which is our Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, on traffic calming ideas and suggestions. The city utilizes multiple different methods to traffic calm our roads, from red light cameras to speed cameras, parking chicanes, speed cushions, speed tables, raised intersections, bump outs, speed slots, and neighborhood slow zones, just to name a few. We have had great success. Our before and after studies have shown, for example, on Cobbs Creek Parkway, a community with a park on the west of it and the communities on the east, tennis courts, playgrounds, things like that are in the park, where the 85th percentile was 69 miles per hour. We lowered that to 19 miles an hour so the community can once again feel safe crossing the street and utilizing our parks and rec centers. The streets department does not work on traffic calming alone. It's actually a city effort. The streets alone, our efforts include police department. We meet with them on a monthly basis to discuss crashes, fatalities, and how we can engineer our roads better. The fire department on how to work with them to response time and help them out on fire and emergencies, including our EMS service. City Council, which does our outreach, every one of our services does have community meetings. And after I'm done with this hearing, I actually have a community meeting on 2 streets in Philadelphia, 47th and 48th Street, 2 two-way streets, which we are proposing, making them one-way in each direction, speed cushions, protected bike lanes, and traffic calming for the community. The mayor, of course, because we do answer to the mayor and his directive, and he's the one who signed the Vision Zero policy, directing us all towards zero fatality. And especially, once again, the community is all part of our efforts as we listen to them, see what they would like, what they won't like. Progress has been slow, but we continue to move forward, investing capital dollars in our program and even adding it to our paving program. One of the most recent milestones reflects the commitment we have to our children by installing speed cushions around 50 schools before the beginning of the school year. And we plan to install another 50 schools before the end of the school year to show what we are doing. Altogether, that was over 400 speed cushions we actually installed in the city of Philadelphia just before the school year opened, and we plan another 400. So we continue to work with the administration, city council, and the community to identify opportunities and continue to slow Philadelphia drivers down. So I hope this gives you an idea of what we do, and I'm more than happy to answer any other questions.
Sure, I have a few questions. And you said you have installed over 50 around the schools. How much?
50 schools, we installed
50
50
schools.
schools.
Yeah.
So it was over 400 speed cushions.
Oh, thank you. Make that correction. How much does it cost per, in Philly, per cushion speed bump?
So the 50 schools was a $3 million investment.
How much does it cost just to do a street, like when I was up on Broad Street, I saw some, how much does it cost just to do a regular street?
Just a regular street.
Just a regular street.
Like
Not a two-way
do it-
highway, just a regular street for as a school zone. I'm looking at Bancroft and think, well, you don't know what I'm talking about, but how much was it cost for just a regular street, like down in South Philly, for an example?
So, for example, a set of speed cushions, which is 2 or 3 will go across, it's a little over $7,000 per for them.
$70,000?
7,000.
7, okay, hold on one second.
So if a block has 3 or 4 sets, you're looking at $21,000 for that.
$21,000. Thank you. As a follow-up, when I read the information on the Philadelphia Street Department, and I'm looking at the picture with the cushions, is that measured based on a car for the tires and then for a wider truck? Do y'all measure that? Because it looks like for the cars, it slows down, but it looks like it may be measured for a wider truck they can ride like on the road. You know how you have them individually? Is that something that I'm just observing?
No, you're absolutely correct. So we designed our speed cushions so that the wheelbase for our fire engines, our fire trucks, and our SEPTA buses can easily traverse between the speed cushions without having to do the bump or so. So we do design those that way so that it is safe for them to go. We also, when we first installed them, we did do extensive tests with the EMS, sat in the back of the ambulances as they drove across them to see what the ideal designs would be.
So your fire trucks don't have a problem with them, and
No, they are designed so that our fire trucks should actually traverse between the speed cushion without having to hit the speed cushion.
and how high are they off the ground? What's the measurement off the
3 to
ground?
4 inches, depending on what your design speeds you're going for. So we design them anywhere from 15 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour. So if you're going for 15, it's a 3-inch raise. for 25 is a 4-inch raise.
Okay. Anyone, any other committee members have any questions?
Yes,
Yes,
Madam.
Mr. President Congo.
Yes, thank you. I know you mentioned that the fire trucks are able to go around the speed cushions.
Yes, they're actually the speed cushions are set so that the wheelbase it allows the trucks to just go over it without hitting.
Okay.
So
all right, just
there's
noting.
space in between them, so there's 6 feet wide, 2 foot spacing, another 6 feet.
Okay, I just wanted some clarity. All right, thank you.
Who's next, Spadola? Councilmember James Spadola.
Thank you. Thank you, Director, for joining us tonight. Are the speed cushions, are they permanently installed, or is there a process where they're temporarily installed as a pilot possibly, and then you can move them around if based on feedback, or is it a permanent installation only?
Interesting, when we first started doing them, in 2010, we came out with asphalt speed cushions. We did not do community outreach or do our due diligence. I will take blame for that. Since then, we've learned our lessons. We do initially put them out as a rubber speed cushion. So it's a temporary measure that gets drilled into the asphalt with lag bolts. We can easily remove them. The community does not agree. And if we have no problems or anything like that, we go back and then make them out of asphalt.
Thank you. And can I have a follow-up?
Sure,
Madam
please.
Chair.
Sure.
What was the initial, I think we've heard some reticence on the part of some city department heads about speed bumps specifically, not so much speed cushions, but did you have any initial negative reaction from some of your department heads, whether it's fire or anybody or police? Because I'm assuming most police cars have to slow down and, because they're not big enough to go over like a fire truck. So can you talk about some of the negative feedback you've received and if some of the initial impression of the speed cushions have changed since?
No, I mean, obviously response time was one of the things that both the fire and police department were concerned about. But we did, remind them that our goal, and should be their goal, is to save all lives and not to be responding to all the emergencies. And if we can do this, save lives, reduce fatalities, it's in the benefit for all of us. We've also worked with them on pulling preemption on all our signals to allow them to increase their response times. So we may have negatively impacted them one way, but we try to possibly impact them another way so that they can still respond and get to emergencies in a timely manner.
Thank you. Can I have one more, Madam Chair?
Sure, please do follow up.
Thanks. And Director, any sort of damage to snow plows or any other non-emergency city vehicles as a result of the speed cushions?
So I am also responsible for snow removal in the 2,500 miles of Philadelphia roads. This was one of my concerns of my drivers. That is why we don't make them higher than 4 inches. I do gotta say it is a little extra training for our drivers because when they do see, we do drive runs with them. We try to get them to learn. They know the signs where we have the speed cushion signs, and they know where the speed cushions are at. So they are actually take extra care of that. A lot of my drivers, what they do is they lift the plow a little more. And we also had to make sure that the shoes were at least 3/4 of an inch high. So their plows were not scraping in the ground. We actually tend to ride them on a shoe that allows us to do that. And they drop a little extra salt when they're there just to make sure that no ice forms in between the speed cushions.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Spadola. Do we have any other council members that have any questions? Councilmember Maria Cabrera.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. First, just wanted to make sure you recognize I was in a meeting. You didn't see me in the beginning, and I think this is a really great idea. I've driven over some of these cushions while I'm out working in Pennsylvania. I saw them in some of the local neighborhoods where they just wanted people to slow down in those neighborhoods. So my question is, I guess, are they easy to remove, need be, and it makes sense to do the cushion ones without doing the harder ones, the cement ones, and keep those? Like, what's the longevity of the softer cushion one versus the asphalt?
So the rubbers, which is recycled rubber, the average life is about 2 years for us. During snow operations, we do see damage to some of them, so we lose. I anticipate about 30% of them get damaged. We do go back, have to re-anchor them and things like that. But the rubbers are not, the recycled rubber speed cushions are not intended to be there for a winter operations, and the manufacturers actually do have that in their website and do tell you that. We made the decision, the city of Philadelphia made the decision not to remove them because we feel traffic safety is still more important and people are going to speed whether it's winter or summer. So we leave them up and it is an operational cost that we take on. Again, now we're starting to, as people get more used to them or adapt to them and want them more and more, we are now just coming, for example, for all the schools, we did not install recycled rubber speed cushions. We actually just went straight to the asphalt speed cushions. I've had numerous community meetings since the school opened up, and most parents are praising about what the city's doing to slow traffic down. We're trying to, at least in the schools, the goal is to go to 20 miles per hour. In our neighborhoods is to slow it down to 25 miles per hour.
Okay, may I follow up?
Yes, please.
Madam Chair?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of cost, so is it cheaper to do the rubber than it is the asphalt?
It is cheaper to do the rubber. The rubber does or costs is cheaper. However, long-term maintenance, then the asphalt's cheaper.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you for coming and presenting.
Anytime.
Thank you, Councilmember Maria. Do we have another council member? Okay, President Trippy-Congo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Was there any grant money available for funding this, or did it come from the city's budget?
So we did go, Pennsylvania does have some grant funding. So we used some of our red light automated enforcement money to do this. We've also gone after federal funds to do some of our work and some state funds to do some of the work too. We've also had developers as they're doing their development, especially if it's a pet-oriented development and they're trying to take advantage of transit credits in the zoning code, install speed cushions for us.
Okay, thank you.
Follow-up question.
Okay. Next we have Councilmember Vince White.
You mentioned that you give credits for installation in new developments or areas?
No, it's if a developer tries to take a transit credit.
Oh, transit credit.
Transit-oriented credit in our zoning code, then one of the things that we're asking them to do around their development, only around their development, is install speed cushions. So those pedestrians utilizing transit feel safe and speeds are slower for them.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to follow up. So I heard the president mention, so you went for some grant funding, some state funding, city funding, and also private development funding in certain cases. Okay, but the administration's definitely been involved because they're on board. Is that what you're saying?
The administration is definitely on board, city council. The last two budget hearings, the 2023 budget and the current 2024 budget, city council has given $1 million each year for speed cushions installation throughout the city of Philadelphia.
Thank you. Another follow-up, when council members said, the rubber cushions, like you said, sometime they are damaged, so for long-term, what was the other one? What was the name of the other one? I just keep saying the speed cushion. What is the, name for the other cushions? That's what.
We have what our temporary rubber speed cushions, and then we have our permanent asphalt speed cushions.
When you say permanent, what's the other word? What is it saying? Permanent what cushion?
Asphalt. They're made out of asphalt.
Asphalt, okay. And they would be the long-term maintenance, correct?
They're basically just like your regular road. They're put as part of our paving program, so they're intended to last as long as our road, as long as the surface of the road. So in most local street, we're paving the road somewhere between 12 to 15 years.
Is that, would that be some of that infrastructure money also?
So we have not used infrastructure money for it. We did put in for race grant and a mega grant, which we successfully have gotten, and traffic calming is part of both of those. What engineering we're going to do, we're still in the preliminary engineering stage, but I do anticipate that we'll do some kind of traffic calming in those neighborhoods.
No, thank you, Richard. Another question, when you first started with the rubber, because we have certain areas that's in need, so I don't see us putting them all out everywhere. Where did you start off with the rubber bumps, cushions?
So we started with the rubber speed cushions. We created a criteria. We did engineering studies for all of them. The criteria was that it had to be over 1,000 feet between traffic control devices. The speeds, we went out and did radar studies. The speed, the 85th percentile, had to be 10 miles above the posted limit. So that's how we began as we started getting familiarized with the process, doing the process. And that was in the beginning of the Kenney administration. We're now near the end of the Kenney administration. The speed limits have dropped. So instead of a +10, we actually now use a +5 speed limit. So in order to more areas qualify, we look at the crash data. We go out there and look at the land use, road conditions, transit use. So we do take do a comprehensive engineering study before we put one of these out, and including meeting and talking to the community and to council for their approval.
I noticed when you had mentioned it, and I've read it in the paperwork, automatic red light and enforcement programs and red light cameras. We're also using them here in Wilmington, but it still seems to be not enough. So I see what you just said, that you're trying to prevent harm from everyone, and the speed bumps have been self-enforcing. Just wanted to thank you for coming on. Do we have any more questions from council members? Do we have any questions from individuals from the public? And I would like to mention to some council members, we did have a petition dropped off here from a Miss Mamie Boehner, who lives on the 800 block of Lombard Street. And she has 32 names on here from just the members around her community, asking us to install speed bumps on Lombard Street, talking about the school, talking about the kids, and just talking how, she just spoke on how they're just flying down that street, and she has requested for some time now for us to put, I guess, yield right away, several stop signs, intersections along that stretch, and nothing has been done. So she's, she has some people prioritize installing speed bumps from the 900 to the 800 block, right by the school. So I just wanted to let it be known that we do have some individuals who are paying attention to us. And with that being said, Mr. Richard, Mr. Montez, we really appreciate you coming on from the Department of City Streets, Deputy Commissioner of Transportation. And we'll be in touch with you because we're going to follow up with Del Dot and see if maybe we could get on a Zoom call so you might can just inform us of some of the other things that you're doing with Del Dot on the line so we could try to get some either cushions or the others, the long-term maintenance speed bumps around here because they are really needed. Nowadays, everybody's just in a rush.
I'm more than happy, and I'm more than welcome to discuss our experiences up here.
Okay, y'all keep up the good work there, and thank you so much for coming on, taking your time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you. Anytime.
Thanks again.
Bye.
Okay. Okay, this is a ordinance, and it requires a vote out of committee. Is there a motion to move this out of committee, this ordinance, ordinance 23-029 out of committee?
Motion.
Madam Chair,
I'm sorry.
I might have missed
Second.
it. Did we speak to the ordinance, or did we just? spoke
Before
to-
you came in, he spoke to the ordinance. I
He
had
took
called
the
you
ordinance.
first,
Oh, okay, I missed it.
then
Okay.
You had missed it.
Okay.
And
all
then we was just having regular conversation, but I said that first.
right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Then he came on and talked about it.
Okay. Thanks.
I mean, he was on when we discussed. Okay, it's been properly moved and second. The ordinance has been voted out of committee. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, this will be on the agenda. Mona, you have a date when this will be on the agenda? Is it this Thursday? Kendra, do you know?
It'd be October the 5th.
Thank you, Marshall. So this will be on the agenda for October the 5th. Committee meeting. Thank you. Next, we have a presentation on nighttime visibility for safety by Peter Hank from Del Dot.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. See, thanks for coming on. I remember we discussed this briefly before, and we said we was going to follow up. So we would like to know the update on the visibility for safety for nighttime over there. I think a lot of this was about over the west side, different areas. So if you could speak to the visibility for safety and nighttime, because they have put up, I think it was about putting up a lot of LD lights and just like new fixtures, lights in general. Some people were complaining and some people were happy with it. So could you give us an update, please? Thank you.
Sure. So again, my name's Peter Haig. I'm Del Dot's Chief of Traffic Engineering. And I need to make sure I have control. Oh, there it is. All right, so we start every presentation off with the department's mission, excellence in transportation, every trip, every mode, every dollar, every one. From the next, it's an unfortunate statistic that we show, but from just our fatal crashes statewide, you could see as of, this was last week's data, we were at 98 fatalities. We are now at 99 fatalities. When you start looking at nighttime fatalities just for this calendar year, so far about 45% of them have occurred between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. And again, it's a broad range of the types of crashes, pedestrians, motorists, cyclists, bicyclists, but about 45% of them have occurred during that nighttime period.
Excuse me, did you say, you mean 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.?
8 p.m. to 6 a.m., sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, okay, thank you.
So one of the largest benefits for nighttime visibility safety is roadway lighting. From our partners at Federal Highway, you could see that from a lot of the crash statistics and the rates, they wind up reducing crashes in a variety of ways. So from a fatal crash perspective, they reduce by approximately 65%, which is 3 times compared to the daytime crashes. The nighttime injuries in the rural and urban highways can be reduced by 28%. And then from an intersection standpoint with rural and urban, anywhere between 33 and 38%. When you start thinking of vulnerable road users or pedestrians and bicyclists, especially at intersections, where the research nationally is showing 42% of those crashes being reduced. And that plays into increased visibility at intersections or along corridors, driver comfortability for the area, and then just being able to, from a safety and a comfort standpoint. So the I wanted to provide some kind of imagery to show kind of truly the difference in the same location in regards to the visibility. And so these two images are at the exact same intersection at Marsh and Carr Road, just outside of Wilmington. And you could see the difference in the visibility just between the two images on what the nighttime, that roadway lighting experience, how that changes with the introduction of lighting. Most of our lighting today is being looked at or being pursued with the LED light housing compared to high pressure sodium lighting, which is historically been utilized. There's a little bit more, so from a life cycle perspective, a cost perspective, it is a benefit in going into LED.
Peter, I have a question for you. Do you have any sample?
Sure.
I know you said this is Carr Road. Carr Road is normally just a dark area anyway. I used to work over there. Do you have any images or any data from any visibilities in the city of Wilmington, such as Washington Street, such as Market Street, just to give a kind of a comparison?
I do not have anything specific for the city of Wilmington.
Okay. Is there any way you can send something over later on? I mean, this week or something? I'm thinking of Washington Street. I'm thinking of Adams Street. Thinking over Riverside, in Southbridge areas, where we get a lot of complaints about visibility. And I think the one we was talking about was over in Begita. It was over, it was off the. Well, we could talk about that offline.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So another added benefit with regards to roadway lighting is personal security and the aesthetics, but that reduced crime and the increased comfort, especially with whether, the community settings, the social aspects and the economic components that go on in an urban and a city of Wilmington setting. When you start introducing that roadway lighting component, you start seeing kind of those added benefit because of things being lit up and that comfort of people being able to walk around, utilize the roadway network. You kind of, granted, the two of the images on the screen are during the daylight conditions, but the one in the bottom right-hand corner, that's Garfield Parkway down in Bethany. And you can just see kind of how the visibility on, especially from the sidewalk standpoint, is lit up when that lighting is present.
Okay, I'd like to acknowledge Council Member Michelle Harley.
Thank you.
So Keith, you said these are images from down to the beach?
Correct. They were just images. Again, the top one is in Rehoboth. The bottom left is in Newark. And then the bottom right is Bethany on Garfield Parkway.
Okay, once again, if you get a chance, I'd like to, if it's possible, we'd like to see something from the city of Wilmington. I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilmember.
Councilman White speaking. I'm a little lost, the presentation as well, but we are the city of Wilmington City Council, and I don't see anything that pertains immediately to our particular issues. So I'm at a loss to understand the overall purpose as it relates to city residents about this benefit. So can you speak specifically for city issues, or is this about other places?
So I'm here to present on nighttime visibility in general.
Okay.
I was not under the impression that it was specifically driven towards whether it's statistics or information that is associated just with the city of Wilmington. Again, I'm talking just the overall, our process, the benefits associated with nighttime visibility improvements as a whole. And granted, there's other treatments in the remaining presentation that I outlined that can be utilized, that the department utilizes before we get to roadway lighting as an improvement.
So
So this was just a high level presentation associated with nighttime safety.
May I follow up?
Yeah,
So,
'cause I'm-
so are there any nighttime issues that you know of as it relates to egress that involves the city, either Market Street? Because again, this is interesting, but it's not particularly specific enough that our residents. So the chair mentioned South Bridge, we mentioned Market Street. Is there any particular attention being given to a more urban area such as the city of Wilmington?
So the department, as part of one of our strategic highway safety plan initiatives, just completed our what is called a pedestrian safety audit for the city of Wilmington.
Thank you.
There was several intersections as well as corridors, as well as what we consider, I'll say, systemic or we're used to like statewide initiatives, so larger picture like uniform improvements that could be considered. So we just finalized that. We've been working in communication with the Public Works department at the city of Wilmington with regards to it. We're certainly can send those documents over to this group with regards, because they have been finalized. We're in the process also of getting those documents uploaded to the department's strategic highway safety plan website.
Madam Chair, one last question. And I can't speak for the rest of council or the chair, but if you have a report that outlines the needs of the city, particularly regarding these nighttime issues, we as city council at least we'd welcome that report. And then we would welcome a conversation once we have a chance to digest that report about the particular recommendations that would lie within, if that's something that you could bring yourself to do after we've reviewed it.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Councilman White. I too have the same sentiments. I just sorry that Kendra didn't just specify that. I'm just assuming since this is the city of Wilmington, I was looking for, someone else came on and I wasn't for sure if it was you, but I was in a presentation when we were talking about the lighting on the west side, and said that we would follow up, because I think it was a long meeting that night. A lot of things was on the agenda. So I was looking for more specific about any surveys or update on lighting in the city of Wilmington. As I stated, was over on Washington Street, Market Street, South Bridge area where, I ride through and the lighting is horrible. So I was just wondering, did you have a study on, just a comprehensive study or whatever you have for some lighting in the city of Wilmington? And this is nice, but I'm not going to waste your time or our time to talk about things that's occurring in Rehoboth, which is really good, but hopefully we can get some studies and some of this LED lighting up here in Wilmington. So I will be back in touch with you, and I appreciate you taking your time to come on.
Yeah, no problem. Again, from what I was presenting on, and again, if it was, we could certainly come back and talk specifically on things about the city of Wilmington. Again, we could talk specifically about the pedestrian safety audit that we completed, which in turn would have some overlapping roadway lighting components. Because we know roadway lighting is, from a vulnerable road user perspective, it is one of the top recommendations that comes out of a lot of the audits that we do. So anytime we can talk more specifically on the city of Wilmington.
Thank
That'd be
you.
nice.
That'd be nice. Oh, Councilmember Harley, please ask a question.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I had a quick question, for the gentleman, and my question is this one: how do DelDOT determine, if there's other streets that at one point in time that may not have needed lights, and if they, determine like, okay, later down the road, it may be a community that may need lights. And if this is not in your wheelhouse, let me know. I did come on a little late. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because on the east side, on Pine Street, where they are building the new school, the new Bancroft School, before they built the school, there was lights in the park, there was lights in the parking lot, there was street lights, but now the building is so big and they've torn down the park, they've torn down the parking lot, that street is so dark and there's hardly any light shining on the residential street between 5th and 6th on Pine Street. Like, what would be your recommendation, or is that not in your wheelhouse? I'm just asking a question.
So that kind of went right into the next part of my presentation. So I appreciate the question. So typically, with any type of concern, there's an evaluation process. And so the department about 3 years ago updated what is known as our lighting policy, which with regards to the lighting policy, we first start with doing an evaluation and a study. We've tried to streamline a lot of those components that are included in the study, mainly because we know that there's certain applications, roundabouts, interchanges, toll plazas, ramp, things of that nature that are just automatically justifying roadway lighting. When you start getting into like a specific location, that's where we start looking harder at the details. So how much roadway volume, what's the speed limit, is there existing lighting on the corridor or previously provided? And then ultimately, we then produce a score, and based on that score, it then can take us down a path of looking harder at, say, crash data to then see, okay, what kind of patterns are occurring and or what kind of proactive measures based on some other statistical information that we have for the corridor with regards to determining the next factor or the next approach. In some of those cases, especially when you start diving into the crash data, there may be other improvements to improve safety along the corridor, whether roadway striping needs to be refreshed because of faded conditions, whether the signs from a reflectivity perspective have faded over time and those devices need to be improved. And then ultimately, is roadway lighting something that we want to pursue further? An application, when you start looking specifics on determining, say, yes, the roadway is then justified for roadway lighting, now you're getting into more of the design details on how much roadway lighting would be serviced or provided at a single point on a roadway through like the photometrics on the footprint of what that light is now shining on the roadway, as well as is it something that we can coordinate and easily implement through utility pole lighting in working with the local utility company and electric company versus standalone roadway lighting that is put on typically for the Del Dot side, it would be put on like Del Dot specific specifications and poles, which then ultimately we maintain.
Awesome. One quick follow-up, Madam Chair.
Sure.
So I heard you mention some of the data points that y'all consider. Is public safety included in that equation? Because it may not be a street where there's a lot of crashes and automobile accidents, but public safety is really important too, as it relates to not having enough lighting that can cause, car break-ins and, miscellaneous type of crime. So that is the situation here as it relates to the lighting that used to be projected on that street, from the park, from the street, from the parking lot. There was a lot of light. And like now, all that has been just removed. And so I just wanted to know if public safety is one of the data points that's included with that application, or them, making that determination.
So it's not included in our data point, mainly because we're looking at roadway lighting. So we're trying to light the roadway, vehicles, pedestrians, bicyclists, all modes. When you talk of public safety, it can also go down the security type lighting, where the purpose is to light a specific area, not so much the roadway, because the roadway light is really our primary focus. Sometimes that roadway lighting has the secondary benefit of, from a public safety standpoint or security light standpoint, can be pursued, but most of our policies and guidelines are driven around the road, lighting the roadway.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Harley. Also in the package, if anybody's interested in sending a personal email, he has, Peter has left, in the back of the package, he has his email address and telephone number. And Peter, I appreciate you taking the time coming out, and I will be shooting you an email to follow up on some of the stats that you just talked about today regarding some updates in the city of Wilmington and looking into that study that you said y'all still working on. So I appreciate you taking the time.
All right, no problem.
Okay, and with that being said, I don't think there's anything else on that's the end of our presentation. Yeah, we have any public comments from council members? And do we have any public comments from anyone in the public? No. I'd like to reiterate, if you just came on there, we also had 6 other council members in here on Zoom. And, I'm sorry, Councilman Harley.
Oh, yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The conversation that I just had with Peter, it sounds like we may need to start internally asking our Public Works Department about that topic on Pine Street, that's associated with the Bancroft construction. And so I guess I was just trying to figure out if go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. That was a good point, and I made a note to contact Vincent Public Works so we can get someone to, shoot us an email, because I was shaking my head the whole time, if you couldn't see, because it's extremely dark over there now that they're doing that work, so that was a good point.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And I will follow up with you tomorrow. I'll make sure I loop you in on an email.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
If we don't have any questions from anyone from the public, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion.
There has been a proper motion to adjourn the meeting. Has it been moved in second? Do we have a second?
Second.
So it's been moved in second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried, meeting adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.